What's poppin', you beautiful humans? My name is Ariane Andrew.
I'm Matt Dillon, and welcome to another piping hot episode of Sippin' the Tea, where we
Sip the tea and I guess
spill that tea. All right, let me give you a little. Girl, that was not our finest one, but we getting there.
That was not.
We getting there.
That was not a pussy
What's up,
popper.
Miss Little Glitty?
Mm-mm.
She's very quiet
Yeah,
today.
she's like baffling.
We got Miss Mama in the house as usual. And guys, today we have one of fashion's premier names. If you don't know him, you will after this. He is the king of outerwear, and he is here. He's just come off the weekend of the BET Awards, and he is serving a look. Mr. Romeo Hunte,
Nice to meet
thank you for coming, man.
Thank you for
having me.
coming.
Thank you, guys.
And serving a look.
I know he
and,
is serving.
and he is serving it in my jacket, so I'm going to have to, we'll have to swap at some point, and I'll run out the door.
No, you are definitely serving some looks over
Thank
here.
you.
Let me
Thank you.
tell you. Okay, so we're gonna jump right into it. So let's take it all back. Born in Brooklyn, a scholarship for track and field. You don't take it, you get into fashion. Let's just rewind and say how we all got there. So tell us, what was your decision to go from fashion and not taking that scholarship?
You know, me, my story, I find it very ironic. And when it first, in the beginning, when I was like a young boy, just running around the house, I was really inspired by my mother and my grandmother. My grandmother was a seamstress. My mother was just a fashionista. She loved fashion.
Yes.
So she always used to play with fashion. Then like her old vintage pieces, I used to just kind of rip them apart and then just like kind of like add mixing fabrics together and just playing around. Really not knowing that later on, you know, this is the beginning. It was always in me.
The Genesis.
Yeah,
But
it
that's
was
so
always
beautiful.
there.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the pieces that I used to like sew together, it's kind of like now when I'm mixing fabrics or mixing two different worlds, because it's always a mixture of two different worlds with me, of just, you know, something practical, but then something that's still, something that's practical, but then still something that's modern with a twist, you know? So it's I look back and I'm like, oh, I remember that story. And my mother and my grandmother shared stories with me a lot. And to know now, my daughter, she wants to pursue modeling. So
Oh, wow.
that's another thing
Okay.
that's very recent too. She's like, I want to, she's starting to walk. She's wearing her mom's shoes around the house. So that's also something I'm really excited about. Yeah.
It's all together. I love it. It's kind of like what was, which you didn't know at that time, became what is.
Yeah.
And it's like that's the universe kind of driving you without you probably even realizing it.
Yeah, didn't you really, until you get those moments that you have to think back and you're like, oh yeah, I remember this. I remember this time, and it all makes sense. It was all planned. And that's one thing that always pushes me forward too, because sometimes I go through those really tough days and I have to think back like, hey, you know, this is meant for me, you know. I don't know what else would I do right now.
It's the passion though, because you
Yeah.
have to think about it. Like if you would have ended up doing something that wasn't in your heart, you know, you wouldn't be feeling fulfilled.
Yeah.
So it's like going back to that story, being like, well, you know, this is something that I've loved. So
Yeah.
it shows.
Yeah, and track and field was like a fork in the road. It was either track and field or fashion. And I was number one on the track team, and I think they were really pissed off when I came back,
can
and I was like,
imagine that. They're like, where are you going? Sew some garments together? Come
yeah,
on,
they were
man.
like, really, fashion? I was like, you know, it's something I always want to pursue, and I think I was always up for the challenge. I didn't start off with like, oh, you know, you're in the industry, or it was not like a door open for me. It was more, I started off with no resources. I started off working in luxury retail and doing freelance styling for like editorials and also some celebrities. And that's just kind of how I got my feet wet. And from there, it was just kind of like doors just opened, and I started off with a small collection. And it was kind of like it got noticed by Zendaya and Barney's and Saks. Kind of like they thought I was on my fourth or fifth season. And I was like, no, I'm just starting. And they was like, oh wow, this is such a small collection, but I could see it growing into so much more. And the good thing is that, you know, my staples right now, I look at my staples because they're really, I have a tight connection with like my Varick shawl, the poncho. When I first started, that was the first silhouette that I created. And the reason why I created a piece I wanted to create a piece that was flexible, that you can wear in many different ways. So you can wear it layered or you can wear it by itself. And I think it's a seasonless piece. And you know, from the time that Beyonce wore it, just became something that the celebrities always come to me for the
dropped it.
button.
Right?
Just
He was
drop
like,
it. Let me
he
just
was like,
say that.
let me just drop that
It's
name.
a casual
real
Beyonce,
Right.
casual
No big
Zendaya.
deal, Beyonce. It's okay.
It's like,
But yeah, since then it was just kind of like it's been a fan's favorite, and then I started off with all women's, and the men's collection just organically just created itself. I did small trunk shows, and from small trunk shows, like each girl or each client I know will bring her boyfriend or her husband, and then they'll try on things too, and
usually
then
the way it happens,
that's
right?
just-
We all go
Exactly.
shopping together, the man, the woman.
And that's when it just kind of came about. I didn't really want to start a men's line so fast until it was a demand, and I feel like, okay, you know, I am filling a void in the men's market, so why not? So that's when athletes and Dwayne Wade came in, and also
I see
Victor
your front rows.
Cruz.
You got some people.
It's some really good people, and I blew me away to dress Beyonce. That was something that was a dream, and I didn't think that would happen so soon in my career. And also like going into like dressing Michelle Obama, that's something that I'm really making my mother proud, and also building a great legacy for my daughter to actually look and say, wow, you're really, like, she's shocked sometimes when she opens up a magazine. She's like, oh, that's my daddy, that's my daddy. So.
And he's so humble too. You have like a humble spirit, so that's amazing to see that like you've had such big accomplishments. But
In like this
Thank you.
span of
Yeah.
time that like you look at that and be like, what does that feel like to look at, Barney's in the initial run, all these names. And a lot of it's because your aesthetic, you truly understand who you are and what your niche is.
Yeah.
What does that feel like? Like in those early moments, you'd be like, I would have been knocked off my rocker, because I'd be like, oh my God, like people work all their lives and don't achieve that within a fashion thing. And it's like fashion's such a tough business, as I'm sure you know, but it's like there's something about the way you've kind of nailed it. What is that?
The thing is,
the secret sauce.
Yeah, what is the secret sauce? He's like, I'm not sharing. He's like, wait a second.
It's a secret sauce. In the beginning, it was like a baby. I was really overprotective, and I kind of had a vision. Most people that know me personally, they call me a visionary. They're like, you see the future, and like you create. And it was more like I seen where I wanted to be, and I just kind of like planned accordingly to just make sure that things were very much going in line in that direction. It was tough. I had to say no to a lot of people. I had, some doors shut in my face, so it was not easy. Even though a lot of things seemed like it came really early in my career, it was a lot of hard work. Hard work.
Yeah, people always say like it's overnight, but people don't see like the work that you
behind the scenes.
behind the scenes.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm definitely working on a book.
Hey, good.
Just a little tea
Good.
there.
No, I remember seeing you backstage, and then I think it's your first show in New York. It's one of the first that I came to at the Standard, and I remember seeing surrounded by hundreds of people.
Yeah.
And like you're just like a master of Zen in the middle. I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
You have for such a hectic industry, and you just pointed it out, such a like humble and
like
level
chill vibe.
Thank you. I try to keep it that way, but if you see me backstage, it's kind of like we're on a time crunch.
Oh yeah.
Makeup in here. We have to get the show started on time.
Everyone wants a piece of you.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. Like after the show, I usually just like disappear.
He's like, where did Romeo go?
He was
and they were
like,
where he going?
bye.
Like some people now, they're like, okay, I think he just went to just have a moment.
He
to
did.
himself. Yeah, because the show was really intense, and then after the show, it's not like I could go anywhere. The press comes backstage, and so it's a busy day.
Do you think that being in a sport, because I hear a lot of people who say when they've done a sport, the mindset to like stay on like the grind and be resilient, do you think that had a lot to do with where you're at today based on running track and having that mindset and getting the scholarship?
Yeah, I think that does play a really major role, because it's a lot of training. It's a lot of training, track and field. You kind of have to build. I was blessed to have the frame, and because my father was a bodybuilder. and my grandfather. So I always had the build, but it just was kind of like to be fast. It's something that I had to I wanted to always maintain it because after some of my I had a few experiences. Like I had a long 400, I think it was 400. I'm not sure. I remember right now.
He's like, that's a different lifestyle.
Yeah. And I was running, and then right after I finished, I won, but I threw up right after, and they were kind of like, oh, I think you get like excited, or like maybe you got like a little anxiety while you were running. But it was weird to me because it's kind of like every time I won, I always would stop and. Sorry if that's a little disgusting.
Well, no, not doing that after
but I'm just
Wait,
letting you know.
do you do that after a fashion show?
No. But I do get like really excited, and but it's more. My mind is more focused on this has to be perfect. I want to make sure everyone's comfortable. The models is like ready to go. That show was really an exciting show backstage. If you at the Standard. That was really great. The music and everything, the models were dancing.
It felt intimate.
It took us a long time to get those those wetsuits on because we had to like use Vaseline and all kinds to get them on fast. Because it takes like 3 people to put on the wetsuit.
Unbelievable, because I remember seeing it, and that's when I was like, I gotta know who this guy is, because I remember I'd never seen anything in terms of the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Because Fashion Week can be just going through emotion, and literally, I felt like an intimate setting like that, and then you've gone way bigger now, boy. But I will say, one memory I have is that show.
Yeah.
At that moment and that time, because
I hear
I was
that
like,
from
I
a
feel
lot
like
of
that
people.
was,
Yeah.
and you had a front row of some great people.
Yeah,
I was
really
like,
happy with that show.
damn, we got Vogue, you got people that were like spotting you before you probably even knew it.
Yeah, that's another thing with social media and everything. We get a lot of DMs, we get emails, we get certain requests, and sometimes I'm like, me? I'm like, okay, great. You know, it's really exciting because you never know. You never know what's next. That's something I always tell a lot of designers too. Like, you never know what's next. Don't give up. Always keep on going. But with that show, it was a really rainy day.
There was a line in the
thousands
lobby.
of people outside,
crazy.
and I was kind of like, wow. And they were like, everyone was like, oh, this is your biggest show. Like, we have to start this show because people are like outside and fighting their way in. And I was kind of like, oh man, I didn't want it to be uncomfortable. But then again, I was like, you know, this is, I have a show to show. You know, it's a great show coming out. So I had to like calm some people down because they were like, oh my God, it's like so much to get in and we have to get this show started. So
You did fabulous, which leads me to, because you, looking at your front row and looking at, I mean, that show, you had some key players within the industry. Not to favorite anybody, but is there somebody in the industry that you've met that has given, you know, imparted advice for you in terms of your journey thus far, whether it's a magazine editor, another fashion designer? Is there somebody that you've looked up to that you're like, wow, this person A, knows who I am, and you're blown away by that, but like sees the work that you're doing and vibes it with you?
A really good friend and mentor, Tommy Hilfiger. Always gives me,
just a little Tommy.
he gives me the best advice, and he's seen me up and he's seen me down. He's seen me in the place that I'm like, you know, really fighting, and he knows the hunger. And you know, just a Brooklyn boy to actually be presenting in New York Fashion Week, especially a Black designer, actually holding a slot for New York Fashion Week. And so far, each Fashion Week, they always give me great reviews as like, you know, this is one of the shows to watch. Like, definitely, he's gonna bring a show, and it's always unpredictable. So far, that's what I get. Everyone's like, we don't know what's gonna work out.
I feel like you've been on a good run. I mean, you just keep getting bigger and bigger, and it's
Thank you.
And it's the way that you approach things that just is so refreshing to hear. Somebody that you are so successful, and this is relatively your beginnings still.
Yeah.
But I believe it's your energy, because they say you get what you put out there, and
I'm a stay, girl.
No, well, you know, I'd be on my zen and my spiritual, but it's like literally just the vibe that you give. I can see why you attract the people that you do, because you're so humble, and it's like you could be an asshole if you wanted to, but you're still so like, you've come such a far way. And I mean, you haven't even hit the surface yet. You still have so far to go, but you're so humble. And there's people who haven't even reached your level who are stank. You know what I mean? So
I'm going to sip it, because otherwise I'm going to tell them.
Wait, but I do have to ask you a little question though.
Well, here we go. About to
No,
get
no,
to-
no, 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 no. It's still on a positive vibe. No, it's like for people who are up and coming and trying to like, get their feet wet. Like, what advice would you give them for someone who's trying to start out and get into the game? Because it's a very hard game to get into.
It's a very competitive, especially women's wear. Especially now, like with certain designers, I wouldn't discourage them and say this is a really tough time to start. But if that's your dream and you just have to have that vision and always stick with it. I was surrounded by so many people that told me I couldn't do it. I was delusional. I don't know how you think you could do this, and it's just kind of like God has opened up all those doors for me to keep on going and motivate me to never stop. Because it's always good to surround yourself around good energy, people that, tell you, that wants to bring out the greatness in you and that wants that to be a reflection.
We're just having
Wait,
that's
hold on,
really
wait,
important.
We always have a little
Yeah.
moment.
Okay. Ooh, you smell real good, girl. I truly believe. No,
It's like, wait, what
he's
is
like,
going on?
girl, we'll be right back with you. I love what you're saying because I remember at your fashion show seeing your mother. And I think surrounding yourself with family and core group is part of everybody's success because
Totally, you
it's
have
like
to have a
having
strong-
the tightness and the bond
Yeah.
because they've known you the longest and you can trust them.
Yeah.
Even if they might piss you off sometimes.
Yeah.
But
they know, and then they know where I started off at, when I first started the company, I started off with like $5,000 that I was saving up from working like retail and doing freelance styling. And, even with that, it was kind of like, I don't know how you think that you can, start this whole line and you're going into the luxury market and you want to do fur and shearling. And I'm kind of like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Even though I may not be at that time, I was not in the best position, but I had that dream and I held on to it and I never let it go. And from now, when I look at, I'm doing great collaborations with like Saga Fur and Christian Louboutin and great collaborations, and it just blows me away, especially
I can tell it blows you away, and I can see it in your eyes, and it's making me feel like I got the hairs up.
Empowered.
I got the hairs up because it's like, we're very synced here because we have the same vision in whatever you do, and I think a lot of people can look up to you, even if they're not in fashion, about that work ethic, and like really, if you follow your gut, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong.
Well, Jim Carrey says it's the best. You might as well do something that you love and fail than fail and do something that you hate doing. Because no matter what, you can go do a 9 to 5 and still get fired.
Yeah.
So you might as well do something that like serves your passion.
Proving the point.
Yes,
I
and
bet
I
you're happy
see
you
it in
didn't do
your
track and field,
eyes.
right?
I'm happy, but it's really funny because my daughter, she's like the fastest on her team. So it's kind of like, okay.
You just skipped.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm like, and now she's looking at it, she wants to model. So I'm like, maybe you should like see if you really want to pursue track and field.
He's
Like,
gonna
do
be
you want to do that?
he's like, go there.
Or just like, I want to leave it up to her, but
Yeah.
I feel like the modeling is probably, she sees me at work. She sees sometimes we're at the factory really late and she's there like falling asleep. So she's kind of like, she sees the hard work. So she's probably like, I want to, she wants something that's relatable, or something like that. So.
Isn't the universe such a funny thing that like your daughter, like that's such a beautiful
Yeah.
little. Does she travel with you? I know you go to exceptional, fabulous places, and I'm sure like
Yeah.
Paris. Does she come along for the rides?
Not
or?
all the time,
Okay.
because she has school. So
Yeah.
she's.
forgot about that.
Yeah. So,
I was like, you're a famous designer. You're like, nope.
yeah. So So most of the time she's in school, or she loves spending time with her cousins and her friends. So
Grounded.
yeah, I don't think she wants to go with me because it'd probably be a boring trip.
True.
Well, I mean, I guess a little bit of both. Because I guess, when you're like working and stuff, she's like, okay, well. But the excitement of it all, I'm sure
Yeah.
like the shows and stuff like that, that's like exciting.
Yeah, that part. She comes to the casting sometimes and see the models walk.
Does she
Like,
cast
no.
people? Does she be like, oh no, that's not a winner? Does she like
I
help
think
you?
she's just more like amazed because she doesn't really know who's good. But she could tell from me, probably from my reaction, like, oh, Daddy's not gonna like that. Or like, I just looks at it as like, she's mostly quiet. She's really humble, like really quiet. She sticks to herself, and then
Yeah.
if you speak to her, if she feels like you're really nice or sweet, then she'll just kind of cling to you and be, oh, I like her, and then like,
You guys have that
Yeah.
definitely I bet, like, looking at you, you're like a purveyor. You probably like overlook and see things, and like, you know, it's nice to see somebody that genuinely loves what they do.
Yeah.
And like is passionate about. I feel like you're passionate about the industry and making a change through what you do.
Yeah.
And not doing it for accolades, not doing it for this, but doing it because it's something you
truly
damn
love it.
like.
Yeah.
You know.
My favorite part is when a client purchases a piece and how it makes them feel and their reaction. And I have some clients that are like, oh, every time I travel, I wear your pieces, and people want to know. They stop me in the street. Or another client of mine, she loves my pieces because she wears pieces of of a jacket. It would be a coat, and then I wear the top part, and everyone loves it. And then I wear it as a full piece, and then I can wear it as a dress. And that's another thing. Like most of the outerwear pieces, we style it as a dress or like as an outfit. Because I really feel like outerwear piece is really an investment. It's kind of like accessories. It's like your bag. It's like a sweater. You know, everyone has their favorite sweater that they wear like tons of
Everyone
times.
has their favorite jam. So, okay, you got to tell everybody, for people who are living under a rock and don't know about you and want to follow you, can you let everybody know right here where to follow you, your website, and the whole nine? Go ahead and spill the tea right there.
So I'm Romeo Hunte, creative director and founder of Romeo Hunte New York. My links are Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Romeo Hunte. That's ROMEOHUNTE. E at the end. Yeah.
Hey, well, on that note, thank you so much for coming in.
I want to thank you for taking the time to
Yeah.
come in, man.
Yes, thank you guys so much for having me.
Little cheers and
Honored.
cheers.
Yes, girl.
Yes, you can follow me across the board at Ariane Andrew and this little nugget that's sleeping at Glitty Glit.
You can follow me at Matt Dillon 1983, and I will not be waking the beast because she is with Auntie today.
She is with her auntie Ari. All right, guys, thank you for joining in on Sippin' the Tea on EverTalk TV. And until next week on Tuesday on Sippin' the Tea, we will catch you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, you got the wrong number. Click.